But I think since we're at 2 minutes past, we should probably actually just get started. So I'm Ollie, I'm community manager at Stacker. We're going to get into what Stacker does later on in this, but we created this webinar today for you to join just now. Hello, David, joining from the Scottish Highlands. Great, I'm in Edinburgh in Scotland. Yeah, my job is to make sure that the community is talking to each other and learning from each other, and things like this are a great way for us to expand our knowledge in terms of what you can do with no-code tools. So today we're going to cover off how you can set up Airtable ahead of doing any document automation, how you can use Documint to actually automate the creation of documents, and lastly, how you can use Stacker to actually create an experience where you can create these documents automatically. Hello, James. Good. It's a very Scottish audience so far. Very cool. Airtable centric. Nice. This will be for you then. But don't worry, everyone. We will explain what all of these tools are as we go. So yeah, by the end, you should have an understanding of how you can set up a database within Airtable to populate your documents, how you can use Documents to automate the creation of those documents and style them and make them look good, and how you can use Stacker to make it really easy for you or your team to go in, update the information that you need within that document, and create the PDF or whatever it is at the end. So I'm going to hand over to Matt. Matt's going to talk us through the first kind of couple of sections of this, Airtable and Documint. But Matt, would you be up for telling the gang who are in the room a little bit about yourself first?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Yeah, I'm Matt Bourn. I'm not in Scotland, but I am in the UK. I work on the Documint team. So I look after kind of customer success and some of our partnership network as well. So we're a small team and we're distributed around the world. Actually, I think one or two of the team might have joined us for the webinar today. So that's great. And yeah, Documint has been growing very nicely over the past year or so, and we are big fans of the Airtable space, and we've been working with you and the team at Stacker for a little while. Actually, you were one of our first integrations with Documint, so we're really excited to be able to showcase a few things here today and meet some of the community as well.
Great, thank you. So would you be up for just jumping into actually sharing your screen and showing the Airtable database that we're going to use for creating the documents today?
Sure.
Thank you.
You can hear me okay, right, Ollie?
I can hear you just fine, but if anyone in the audience is having a struggle to hear anything, just let us know in the chat and we'll figure something out.
All right, awesome. Okay, so just let me know that you can see an Airtable.
Yes, we can see that. Can you zoom in at all? It's a little bit small.
There we go. How's that?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
All right. I like to have my mine very far away because I'm short-sighted, so it helps if it's further away. Okay, so it sounds like probably Airtable is familiar to most of the group, but I'm going to sort of assume no prior knowledge at this point. So we have a couple of tables here. This one, I think, is an example. Hopefully, we'll get to a very simple example of how we might create a certificate for some of our team members or our valued partners or something like that. So we just got some samples in here, and we're going to show you how you could create, use Documint to create a certificate of some kind. Then we have a slightly more advanced use case, which is around invoices. So we've got some fake examples here that we're going to walk through. And also this is our invoice level where we're going to generate our document from. But this is, of course, connected to line items. Most invoices have line items. So all of these are individual products that have been bought. And then we have a list of products themselves. So, just an item, price, a name, and of course, an image. So we're going to pull in variable images as well for this. So it's kind of cool to watch that happen, as well as variable text. So there's a few things going on, a couple of different use cases and examples, but Airtable is going to hold all the information for us. And anyone familiar will know that the linked relationships between products and line items and invoices is really what's going to power the document generation, and also show you the power of Document, where we can loop through these line items and we can show them a line at a time, which is actually quite a challenge to do with some other document creation tools. So hopefully there's some nice features there to showcase for you. Does that make sense so far, Oli?
Yeah, 100%. I love the examples that you have here for the kind of the fake company that you have. Brilliant.
It took me a long time to research those. I went down a rabbit hole there. Anyway, so that's Airtable. We're not going to spend too much time on Airtable itself, but just to show you where the data is going to live. Just to, as a side note, we have some native integration with Airtable, which is what we're going to show today, which we call the generation link. But we have a few automation methods within Airtable. And we also obviously can integrate with other data sources as well. And we could use Zapier or Integromat to do that. We have both integrations available. So, if your data source was Google Sheets, which I know the team at Stacker are working on as a data source, or indeed something more complex like Postgres, you could use that too. So there's a lot of options here. We're going to talk about Airtable today, but it could be any number of different data sources that you might want to choose from. So I'm just going to hop into Document, if that's good for you, Oli.
Yeah, no, perfect. Looking forward to seeing it in action.
All right, so this is our Document interface. We have a gallery of some templates here you might want to get started with. A lot of people will create their, they come with an idea of what document they want already. So people are creating all sorts of different types of document along the same line. So it might be an invoice or a packing list or a dispatch note, something transactional. It might be a product brochure. So you want images in there and descriptions. It might be a contract agreement of some kind, or a certificate, or any number of documents. To be honest, we see a huge variety of different document types that our customers build, and it's great to see kind of the creativity of what some people have been able to do with the document platform. I've got a couple of examples today I'm going to show you. Creativity is not my strong suit, so forgive the rather basic approach to design here, but hopefully you'll get the general idea. So this is our designer. It's a drag and drop model rather than a traditional word processing type interface. So we have our various content types here. You can obviously have text or images, either static or variable images, some spacers and page breaks for design and style. And then we have layout types. So we have sections to contain various content types. We can then sort them in order of horizontal or vertical with columns and rows. So all of that capability is there. It's very much like a drag and drop website style builder rather than a word processor. It gives you much more power to create the kind of output that you want, which is why we chose that avenue. And there are lots of other properties that you can manage as well. So if we look in this section, for example, we can adjust spacing in here. So we can adjust the padding and the spacing. We can set our fonts style either to inherit or to have a specific font for a certain section, alignment, size, of course. We have some other functions in here about avoiding page breaks. So when we come to loop line items, we don't cut off pieces of text. So there's various features like that. We can set background images and colors using the full range of colors available either through RGB or hex codes, whichever is in your palette, and setting various types of borders and corners as well. So there's a lot of design control, and as I said, it's really limitless as to what you could create within Document. Some people have called it the web flow of document creation, which we kind of like that. Webflow is perhaps a little bit more complex to learn, and we're trying not to be that complex. But it does sort of speak to the power, hopefully, of the design, what you can design within the interface. So on the right-hand side here, we have a couple of, what will be familiar to people as the variables, or, in the old days, we used to call it mail merge. You probably don't remember those days, right, Ollie? You're too young for that.
I merged some mails in my time.
Have you indeed? Have you? So we add our variables here. We can control these. There's a certain style that we have to use to get the text in, but let's say we wanted to create a new variable. We could copy our field from Airtable, or in this case from Airtable. So let's say our field is called address, and Document will create a safe version of this to use in the double curly brackets. Likewise, if we had a capital here, it removes capitals. If we add a number, it places an underscore before. So it allows you to sort of easily translate your fields into variables. And then if we just copy that, we could click on here and replace this whole thing, just paste it in. And there we go, we have our variable set. And in 1 second, you'll see this change here. There we go. So now we would be mapped to a field called address1. But we don't want to do that, of course, because then our template won't work. So we'll just hop back. And then we have a number of integrations, and this is what we're going to showcase a little bit later. So we integrate with Airtable, of course. We have our generation link here, which is what we're going to use today. Document will guide you through this process about how to create basically a formula field that you drop into your Airtable. And I'm going to show you exactly how this happens, so I'm not going to spoil the surprise, but we have any number of integrations that you could work through there to make your experience easier and faster. So that's kind of a run through of some of the basic functions. If I hop back to our invoice example, we're going to use as well. One of the great things, one of the super powerful things about Document is that we have logic function. So in this particular case, we can edit the logic to repeat through line items. So when we showcase this shortly, you're going to see that each and every line item, which is our field name, is going to be looped through, and we're going to generate a new line for every single item in our linked field. We have a variable image here, which we're going to pull in as well. And we also got some rich text formatting. So if you have rich text fields in your Airtable, you can also render that in your document with bullet points or checkboxes or whatever. And then the other part of our logic here is conditional logic. So let's say you wanted to only show line items worth more than a certain value, or that only had images attached to them, or something like that. Super powerful for contracts with clauses. So you want to show a certain clause if a contract has a certain value, and all of this can be mapped from your Airtable data. We just add in the field that you want to use here. Let's just pick a name, it doesn't really matter. And then we've got all our operators and functions in here. So we can really clearly define anything to produce conditions to include or exclude sections of your document based on what you need to have, which of course you can't do within Google Docs, and it's an easy function to have here. We have sorting and filtering and all those capabilities as well, but we just stick to this template for now. Should we take a pause there? Are there anything in the chat there that you want to mention, Ollie?
There is a question actually about if you can do so. I'm just going to read it out from Peter. So is text formatting using colors or shading, etc., able to be implemented using conditional logic on a field by field basic? So can you format text based on conditional logic?
Not That's a great question. It's only to show or hide, I think would be the way I'd express it. But what you could do is you could have multiple versions of the same section and say, okay, if it's above $100, I want to show the blue one. If it's below 100, I want to show the red one. So yes is the short answer, but there may be a small bit of configuration. But it's a great idea that we can take a note of for future roadmaps.
Great, and there is a question as well about plans for integration with any electronic signature platforms.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yes is the short answer. At the moment, we don't have any native integration, but those of you familiar with Zapier or Integromat will be able to use document generated PDFs. Our output is PDF at the moment only, to integrate with something like HelloSign or any text tag based e-signature service. So you can use DocuSign. DocuSign is actually quite difficult to integrate with for anyone who's ever tried it. But there are plenty of other providers that use text tags, and Documint works perfectly fine with that. We don't have native yet, but that is coming down the line, yes.
Cool, thank you. We should probably bash on to get onto the next stage so we can show the sort of final bit in Stacker as well.
Absolutely. I'll stop sharing there for now and let you take over the Stacker side.
Are the links in place on Airtable at this point?
Not yet. But we can do that now if you want to, or do you want?
Yeah, we'll need that to. You
want to do it now? Okay.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind showing off that bit as well, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. Let me reshare then in that case. Can you still see?
We can see both Documint and Stacker.
Okay, perfect. Normally I get like a thing come up to tell me what I'm showing, but okay. So let's choose the invoice for now. So as I mentioned before, we go to our integrations, we go to Airtable, and we're going to use the generation link today. So we need to give Documint a little bit of information to help it. And all we need to do is go to the top level, wherever you want to generate your invoice from. And we're just going to grab the whole URL here. And we're going to paste it in. And Documint will take the bits it needs. As you know, the format always follows the same style. So you don't need to remove anything. We'll deal with that. Then we need to tell Documint where we want to save our invoice and what that file is called. So we've just called it invoice. And we're going to overwrite attachments in this case. So if you leave that off, then you'll just get an iteration every time you create a document. But if you tick it, then it will overwrite whatever was in the attachment field. Because we're using a couple of tables here, we're going to expand these link records. So we're going to let it expand 2 levels deep. We can go up to 5 tables deep if you ever needed to produce an incredibly complex document. And we have some additional options here, which we're not going to go into now, but it allows us to watch for changes, and we'll only invoke those changes when a merge is made. So if nothing changes, it won't create a new one, and that can help to save some of your credits. So as you see, it creates us a formula here at the bottom. So all we do is give that a copy. We go back to our Airtable, and we are just going to paste the whole lot in there, like so. And that gives us a formula here, which is unique for every record. So for these ones, or if we create a new one, it'll get a unique URL here, just like so. And we can do the same for our certificate, just in case we want to show that one as well. So let's grab our URL. We're going to go to integrations, Airtable, generation link. Put our URL in. What was the name? Attachment. Spell that here. Right, we don't need to expand this because it's only in one table, so we're good. Grab that. And paste it in like so. So there, within 2 minutes, we've created our integration that we can create in one click from our Stacker, actually either from our Airtable base itself, but in this case, we're going to do it through a nice UI from our Stacker platform. So, so you should be good to go, Ollie, whenever you're ready.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I will share my screen and I'll whiz through this bit lightning fast. Just if there are any more questions, do keep them coming in, but I will just share my screen and hopefully you can see this app right here. Matt, can you see this?
I can see it, yeah.
Great, okay. So this is Stacker. Stacker basically takes a database. You can use Airtable, there's a bunch of options you can use, but it takes a database and lets you turn it into a beautiful user experience for your users. So in this instance, we've taken the data from Airtable, which you can see right here. So it's all just mapped in kind of one for one. But it's created this app, which we've got the certificates here. We've got the invoice and the invoice line item. So you can see everything here. I love the idea that there is this company that is selling to all of these kind of nefarious organizations around the world. And that, you know, those organizations have a CFO as well, you know, the CFO of Spectre who has to see the invoices for all of these things. But within Stacker, we have all of the people that you might want to generate invoices for. And then you as the owner of this company, or perhaps the accountant, can go in, click one of these, say, we need to generate an invoice for Spectre. We've got all of the information right here. So this has just come in from Airtable. I can update this if I want. So, change the quantities of things, change the notes for the invoice, that kind of thing. And then if I click save, this create invoice button is actually the link that was created. Oh, it's actually created it for me already. Let me find one where it's not created. So universal exports. So there's no invoice for this company yet, but if I click create invoice, it'll take me over to Document. And once my internet has done its thing, it has created the invoice for us by magic. There you go. I used to have to do this manually all the time in my old job for hours a day, hours a week. And just to make sure it appears, I'm just going to bring in information again. And there you can see the invoice is created. So you or one of your users can just log in and find this. And the other use case I just wanted to touch on here is that with Stacker, you can also use this as a portal where, say if you had freelancers who were working with you and you wanted them to put in information and generate an invoice, you could give them access to this app. Those freelancers could log in, change the information here as necessary, and then when it's ready, you could either give them the ability to create the invoice, or you could just do it yourself. So it's a really great way for you to sort of manage working with other people who need to create invoices for you. So yeah, I'm just going to show the certificate really quickly since it looks so nice. Your design abilities are just wonderful. So Steve from Apple, RIP, can now have a lovely certificate. If I click here, there you go, and got the logo as well. And within Stacker, just because there can be a slight delay on it appearing, you can see that the certificate has appeared and Steve is able to take his certificate directly from Stacker. So yeah, loads of flexibility in terms of how you can display this data for your users, in terms of what information they see, what information you see as well as the administrator. It just creates a really nice experience for actually creating invoices or any other type of contract. But since we only have a few minutes left, I'm going to stop sharing and go over to the questions because they are coming in. So first question, Matt, I think this one's directed towards you. Can we have someone help us set up Documint? And how are fees charged? There's a few more questions part of this, but I think let's start with those two.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we get a lot of clients that are time poor, and learning a new platform not always priority. Totally understand that. So yeah, we do have some services that we offer to set up your document for you and either map it to your Airtable or get your variables in place so that you can use it with another data source. It really depends on the kind of document you want created. But if you wanted to drop us an email or connect with us via the website, we can definitely give you a price for that. I see you left your email address there, Femi. So maybe Oli, if you can let us have that information later, we'll connect with you, Femi, on that one, so you can we can give you some more details for sure.
Absolutely. And he's yeah, I will put you two in touch afterwards because there's a little bit more to that question, but I think best if you two just speak to each other directly.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
And David, I see you have a question in the chat, not in the Q&A, but I'm happy to even just record you a video after this call to show you how the logic behind the button works, you know, how the full kind of Airtable to Stacker elements work. So I'll follow up with you afterwards if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a question from Peter. So can you handle non-standard field types inside the Documint document? Things like checkboxes, where check marks could be toggled on or off, bullet points, that kind of thing. So rich text as well, I suppose.
So we can handle rich text in the style, I think, which we already outlined from Airtable. At the moment, we don't have content type, which is like that, although we're working on that to be added. So at the moment, no, Peter, but definitely something that is coming down the line.
Right. And I think we've got 1 minute left, but I'll answer. So Peter has a question about the Airtable sync time with Stacker, and if there's a way for it to be fully integrated with the Stacker table. So Stacker tables is the internal database that we have in Stacker. So if you want to keep everything in Stacker, you can just use that rather than Airtable or something else.
Right.
And so there's not a plan for it to be fully integrated yet, but depending on the quantity, you could use a quantity of documents being created. So Zapier, which is an automation tool for those of you who are not familiar with it, could update it instantly. You could take that information from Documint and send it to a Stacker table immediately. If you were generating lots of documents, then you'd need to kind of look at Stacker's pricing, Zapier's pricing plan, sorry, to make sure that it's not going to be prohibitively expensive, but it certainly would let you update the database immediately.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're at past, and I don't like to overrun with these things. I want to make sure that we fit everything in. So thank you everyone for coming along. Adrian, I see you've just asked a question. I'm going to follow up with you afterwards. But I'd just like to say a big thanks to Matt for taking the time to talk us through this today. I can't believe how much time you would have saved for me with documents a few years ago when I was having to deal with documents on a daily basis. And thank you everyone for coming along. Really appreciate it. And yeah, perhaps see you at the next thing that we do. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Oli. Really appreciate it too. And thanks everyone for joining.
Okay. Bye for now, everyone.
Take care. Cheers.